Let me start with a little bit of a correction. I got my days confused this morning and suggested that I would be having um, Bradford Ferguson on, which that's Thursday nights. And Bradford Ferguson reminded me that he predicted the outcome of the election straight up, even saying that the Republicans would end up with a popular vote victory. So good for Bradford. Anyway, but he won't be on until tomorrow night. What I've got coming up for you tonight is really great. It is going to be Brian Wang. He is going to help me celebrate Good News Wednesday because Jeff Lutz is off traveling outside of the range of even Wi-Fi. Anyway, so we'll have Jeff back next week. I can't wait because I got stuff I want to talk to you about him. Last night, we missed Nick. I might have Nick on tomorrow, on Friday sometime, because Nick was really, really busy with a small child. Anyway, I feel like I should go back to day trading. This morning I would have definitely sold off some at 290 when I could see it was obviously topping off. I would have bought it back again at 280 because it was a clear bottom, and then I would have sold off again at 290. And made a couple of profits already in one day. Well, at least in my imagination. Anyway, I think we're going to see 300 very, very soon. And then we're off to the long slog towards the all-time high of around 411. Um, at the very least, we'll get there when unsupervised is announced. We might get there sooner as Juniper and the Gen 2.5 are introduced. Those could get us to all-time high if they're cool enough. And well, now, if you haven't already had enough excitement in the last 30 days or so, because boy, we've had a lot of stuff going on since the beginning of October. It has been crazy. Well, this from Sawyer Merritt this morning. He says SpaceX sixth Starship test flight could happen as soon as November 18th. I guess the FAA is going to let the Starships go much quicker now. There's going to be a new boss in town, so they have to start paying attention to what Elon wants. Anyway, this is from the notice to the airmen from the FAA. It says these are the new objectives, the objectives of the new flight. The booster return and catch. They're going to do that again. They will have an in-space Raptor ignition. They will test reigniting a Raptor engine in space. They will conduct heat shield experiments and assess maneuvering during reentry and descent over the Indian Ocean. They will have design and system enhancements, increased booster propulsion redundancy and structural strength, faster propellant offload after catch, software so that they can get to fast reusable, right? Software updates, enhanced booster controls, launch and return criteria based on what they learned. Then they will have new booster catch procedures and safety. Return and catch requirements will have a healthy booster and tower systems are required with a final command from the flight director. They'll have a backup landing. In case of issues, the booster will divert to a safe splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. Sonic booms expected around the landing zone with minimal impact on surrounding areas. Then they have the upper stage, an additional flight, additional flight objectives, a suborbital path for the ship itself, similar trajectory as the previous test was splashed down in the Indian Ocean. They will have an in-space burn. They will test an in-space Raptor engine burn to simulate ship deorbit burns for future missions. Thermal protection and descent tests. They will assess new heat shield materials, test higher angle of attack for flap control data, adjust the launch window for daylight reentry, and then they will improve observation condition. I'm sorry, when they do this, when they adjust the launch window for daylight reentry, it will be in order to improve observation conditions. Then they have future iterations and upgrades coming. The seventh flight and beyond, they will have upgraded forward flaps, larger propellant tanks, and improved thermal protection. And finally, a path to reusability. Insights from ongoing tests are building towards Starship's goal of full and rapid reusability. This will be another one of those things which you'll just have to see to believe when they can land one of those babies, you land both of them, boom, boom, you land and then pull over a new ship, put it on the heavy, and then fire it off again within an hour. I mean, crazy business. All right. SpaceX says future ships, starting with the vehicle plan for the seventh flight test, will fly with significant upgrades, including redesigned forward flaps, larger propellant tanks, and the latest generation tiles and secondary thermal protection layers as they continue to iterate towards a fully reusable heat shield. Learnings from that's a very important thing, I guess, fully reusable heat shield. Learnings from this and subsequent flight tests will continue to make the entire Starship system more reliable as they close in on reusability. And then next after that, there's a real possibility that we will start our climb. What will happen after, besides Starship? Well, as I mentioned a minute ago, we'll start that climb towards all-time high. We'll be looking forward to unsupervised FSD, which could come anytime. I mean, it's really, really close. And then Juniper and the more affordable car, all of those are, man, I mean, it's just, we're a third of the way through November, not that long until a lot of the stuff is going to be real. Well, here's something really, really big to think about. Is the ultimate product from Tesla about to debut? The ultimate product. My co-author from the Elon Musk mission, Lars Strandridder, did a video yesterday on his channel. His channel is called Best in Tesla. You should watch it if you're not. He had one of his followers suggest that one of the major OEM competitors might be smart to buy Elon's the real product. The thing Elon says is the real product, the entire factory. Yeah, I think this is a really smart idea. I totally agree. It's not at all unprecedented for OEMs to buy entire vehicles produced by, say, an SAIC or a Geely. There's a bunch of different companies over there, especially in China, but there's other companies around the world that have made cars for each other. In fact, Foxconn said that they might get into the private label business, making cars for other people, and Apple seemed like they might use Foxconn to make their cars when it seemed like that was going to be a likely happenstance. Well, here's a quick list of the elements of the car and the factory that it seems unlikely that any OEM will be able to successfully copy anytime soon. And then when you put them all together and you say, look at this list of all these things that we can't even try to do, why would we even bother to try? All right, see if I got it right. Please add your ideas to the end, or tell me which one of these oh no, any of these other guys could do it easy. Let me know in the comments. Number one, the speed and low cost to deploy a factory. Nobody comes anywhere close to building them as fast or as inexpensively as Tesla. It isn't even in the ball game. Nobody's even in the ballpark. Number two, fully integrated all aspects of manufacturing with their AI system. They have so you might have one section of your factory that's really got great AI, or at least great computerization, where the computer's telling you exactly what to do and how. Tesla's is end to end. It's one computer that does the whole darn thing. Nobody's got that. Number three, the operating system for the car. Nobody's got the complete operating system like Tesla. So I've even recommended many other people, others have recommended. Did I say Metz? I always do that. Jeff Lutz, others have recommended that people buy their entire operating system. Nobody's got anything close to as good as their operating system. Number four, the self-certification of every aspect of the vehicle during production. The car is constantly talking to itself and talking to the mothership about whether or not this or that as it's being added is exactly right. Nobody has anything. Nobody else, as far as I mean, that's according to Joe Justice. He says nobody else does that. Number five, the speed of production. Volkswagen and others have talked about the fact that the old speed of production, 45 seconds, was already multiple times faster than what they could do. And now we know that we're producing at 30 seconds and planning to get even faster. Number six, the octavalve. Nobody's even done that. I mean, that's how long ago? 3, 4 years now? Number 7, the 48-volt system just introduced on the Cybertruck. As far as we know, we haven't heard a beep. We haven't heard anybody say that they're now working on a 48-volt system. And maybe they are. And there's other things around that, like the steer-by-wire and other things that are in the Cybertruck. Haven't heard anybody say that they're going to be copying those things. Number 8, the large die casts. Well, we've had a couple of companies do one die cast or maybe 2, but in terms of the entire industry, no, we're not hearing that they're all going to large die casting, and Tesla is already expert at it. Number 9, the unboxed system that's going to revolutionize the entire concept of how to build a car completely, which is going to be starting in months, and probably nobody else is going to do that for 5 to 10 years. Number 10, the onboard FSD chip. It's so far ahead of what anybody else has. But if that's not bad enough, you got the onboard FSD chip, which is amazing. Then you got the data and the compute behind the FSD system. Well, are these other companies going to go out and spend, $10 billion to put together a supercomputer like Tesla's? I don't think so. Number 12, and on top of all of those other things, there's Optimus, which will be ready to do most factory jobs within 15 months or so. And so you add Optimus into that entire mix up there, and you end up with a factory that has almost no humans in the building. How are you going to top that? So you have other robotics companies out there making robots. You got other, planning to put them into use in the factories, and maybe some of them will do just fine. But the rest of the companies that are making the robots don't have the other 11. So you get the entire system. You get the factory as a product. So I don't know. It would seem like a smart thing to do. So Tesla could either be in the service business. They can say, okay, we'll come in, we'll talk to your engineers, we'll talk to your designers, we'll help you, from the very beginning of a design concept, from first principles. We'll help you with the design of the car, blah, 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 the factory, and then 6 months into the design, we'll, put together. And then just all of it would be a service. Or they could just build the factory for the people and build the cars, and put the private label on it. And they would, in either case, the big money would just be making money off of the FSD subscriptions and or robotaxi income from in the future. What do you think? What do you think? Do you think Lars and his commenter that suggested this idea were right? Let me know in the comments below. I think it makes total sense. And of course, Elon said it was the ultimate product. There's the person who had the idea, just going off of Elon's own words. All right, I promised you this morning that I would give you another installment in my analysis of what's coming from MAGA in the White House, okay? Making America Great Again in the White House. And I'm using MAGA specifically because it is a distinct version of the Republican Party, which is acceptable to independents and libertarians like Musk, Kennedy, and Gabbard. All right. In fact, I think history, remember, I love political science. It's not just the politics. I love the science behind it. I think history is going to show that the reason the Republicans gained a popular majority this time around is because those folks found a home in the party. And so instead of the independents knocking off 3, 4, 5%, that 3, 4, 5% came into the Republican Party and they got the majority of the popular vote. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so Trump right now, this is my big deal. Well, that was big. I think that's huge. I think that's going to be historically true. Let me know about that. But then what about this? Trump right now has a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do the following list. Fix the deficit. Thank you, Elon. Take care of immigration. He will be able to build his wall. He will be able to put up whatever kind of protections that he wants to put up at the border. That's going to happen. He will have no trouble with Mexico because Mexico's not going to be able to do anything about it. And he will come up with a better immigration system in terms of how to bring in a couple of million. I'd be okay, 3 million a year. I don't care. Just bring in people that we want to bring in. They can come from Mexico. They can come from Central America. They can come from South America. Just bring in the people that we need and the people that have been vetted. He will have a once in a lifetime chance to solve Social Security. We have to solve it by 2033. I'll mention something about that in a second, about what I think should happen on that one. He'll have a once in a lifetime opportunity to fix Medicare. He's been promising, Medicare and Obamacare. Same business, really. It's all the same game. And he's been promising that he would come up with a system with regard to Obamacare for a long, long time. We should hold them to that promise. That system needs to be fixed, but it can be fixed within the environment that we have right now of all the stuff Cathie Wood talks about with these different companies that are doing amazing things in medicine, like telemedicine and whatnot, to dramatically reduce the cost of the ultimate product, which will help to make these things more affordable to the country, to the folks in the country. All right. So, and then finally, I want to look at the Social Security just a little bit as an example. What we have to get the cost of Social Security down. And people are like, oh yeah, but does that mean we're going to get lower payments in our Social Security check? Doesn't have to happen. Okay. Doesn't have to happen for years and years into the future when you and I are all dead. Okay. So, Nick Gibbs, he's going to have to pay a little. His check won't be quite as big or something. But anyway, here's my suggestion. I think it's got to be incremental changes, lots of tiny changes. That way it all goes down easier. So maybe it's a small change in the payroll tax. I think it's, if I remember right, it's like 13.5 between the employer and the employee now. All right, make it 14. I mean, half a percentage. So each the employee and the employer pay another 0.25, or maybe it's even less than that. Maybe you only raise it by 0.2 for each. Just a small incremental change. And maybe you build it in over years. Each year it just goes up a tiny bit. And then add 1 year to the earliest time. Right now, I think you either the youngest you can be and get Social Security is either 62 or 62 and a half. I never remember. Whatever it is, add a year, but don't add it this year. Not even in 10, maybe 11 years out. You add a month, or you add, a quarter or whatever, until you finally get it to be a year. You see what I'm saying? Incremental, incremental, incremental. So now you get it up to 63 instead of 62, or 63 and a half instead of 62 and a half, but maybe that's 20 years from now that it finally gets up all the way to 63. That's what they did last time. They slowly added it in. Right now, every year that you don't take Social Security, so if you're able to take full Social Security at 67, and you wait until you're 68, you get another 8%. 69, another 8%, 70, another 8%. Change that to 7%. And don't change it now. Change it starting 5 years from now. Change it to 7.5 instead of 8. And then you follow my point? I think that the combination of right now you have to pay Social Security until you're making, you've paid the whole thing until you're making, I don't know what it is now. Maybe it's 150,000, 140,000. Well, that used to be like 90. Well, we've just had a 30% increase in the cost of, what do you call it? The cost of living, inflation. And I'm not 100%, I should have looked it up before I did the show. Let me know in the comments below. I don't know that they're adjusting that for inflation. So you could put a new number on that. Let's call it 170,000 now, and then maybe adjust for inflation. So it's always going up based on inflation. And maybe that even gets bumped again, just by a small increment. If it's 170 now, and next year it should be 175, next year it's 180, a one-time bump, and then start the inflation from there. You see, does that make sense? Does that make sense as a way to do it? Incremental, little piece, little piece, little piece, little piece. Nobody gets creamed, and you do it years out. And I think there's a way, I'm not going to do the math. Are you kidding me? That'd be so hard. I love math, but not that much. Anyway, I think that would really be a fun way to do it. Listen, I know this is a midday show. We don't normally talk about the stock, but I mean, come on. Today's a day to talk about the stock. We are at 287.66. So what do you do at 287.66 if you're a day trader? Do you buy more? Do you sell? Do you go in for another a bite at the apple today? I don't know. Right now, I think we end on the high. That's what I think. I think that we're going to, because the stock market is continuing up. The Dow is up now, Dow's up 3.44, the Nasdaq's up 2.8, and the S&P is up 2.4, and it's kind of just steadily going up. So Tesla, we had a little profit taking. I mean, shoot, it's up 14.4%. So I wouldn't be surprised at all, though, because the markets are just kind of continuing up and to the right. Maybe I think my bet right now is Tesla finishes at its high for the day. Tomorrow could be a whole nother thing with the Fed. A little harder to call. All right, that's all I have. Oh, let's see. What should you do? You should definitely go back and watch the video yesterday with Brian White, rather. And then, of course, you should hang around tonight. Find us because notify, like, and subscribe, all that stuff, because Brian Wang and I are going to be talking about the rest of today, all the things that happened today in the market, what happened today with regard to Tesla. We'll maybe finally get to the news, because I just haven't been able to wrap my head around the specific news that's out there right now. And by the end of the day, I think I'll finally be able to settle down. Calm down, Randy. We need to we need to get back to business. It's been great talking.